Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It is me, Mysterious Cameron, and today I'm talking about the Taskmaster problem. So, if you're wondering what this is, it's a type of theory that I have, and I'm going to be talking about in this video. It's just kind of a theory video. I'm just talking about it. I'm kind of talking about how to improve the character and stuff. So this is not going to be a video for everyone. I kind of know this. It's not really a fan film. It's going to mention some fan films, but overall, I'm going to really kind of just talk about the character that I love. Before we get into it, if you haven't already seen my own fan film, the official trailer for my own fan film, Captain America: The Taskmaster Trials, it's on my channel now. Let's get into the video. All right. So Taskmaster is a character from the comics. I believe he debuted in the 60s, and he basically can mutate powers. Since he's appeared in games like Contest of the Champions and Avengers, and in movies like Black Widow, set to appear in Thunderbolts, and in fan films like Ant-Man the Beginning, soon to be Captain America: The Taskmaster Trials, and plenty of others. So, also in comics, like things like multiple comic runs, including, most notably, Taskmaster, the Rubicon Trigger. So, what I'm going to be talking about this video is kind of how he's in the comics, and kind of how it's shown, in some ways it's been shown, and kind of how to fix it. So, in the comics, he's a lot like, in my opinion, kind of like a Moon Knight. In a way, I feel like he has, like, his personality's kind of like those big, those jokey, Deadpool-like quotes. However, does have very simple, motives, like a gun for hire, and can manipulate powers. So, he's a very basic comic character. He isn't, anything, so deep. But his characters are always, pretty crazy. His stories, I mean, have always been, weird. Especially things like the Rubicon Trigger, which I've read. Or, he's, going golfing, and then this happens, and that happens. And it's always these really good stories. So, what I'm going to be talking about in this video is kind of, how I feel like the character can be improved upon. Because he's a very interesting and good character in the comics. However, he's not been ever portrayed well on screen. So he wasn't even portrayed prior to 2021, but when he was in Black Widow. And it was a very interesting adaptation. In my opinion, the first bridge fight is an amazing fight scene. I think that's a perfect fight scene. However, then I think it gets very bad from there. I think also the tank fight scene with the bow, that's also a good one. But towards the end, once we know who Taskmaster is, I think that's kind of where it ruins it. However, I would say the majority of the fight scenes with Taskmaster are good. The first thing I think that needs to be changed is that Taskmaster needs to have a voice. In the comics, Taskmaster, I believe, has voice lines. I definitely could be wrong about this, but I did read the comics. I haven't read the comics recently. However, I'm going to check this right now, and I believe that I'm right, and that he has voice lines. He can talk. See if I can find a path. Yes, Taskmaster has voice lines. He talks. And he has, funny lines and stuff, and things like that. Which is why I don't get why he doesn't have lines in this. Because I feel like there are times that a no-word character can work. But, he kind of feels like a slave to Dreykov. And I believe if Dreykov wasn't in the film, they would not have made Taskmaster with no lines. I think the only reason he has no lines is because of there being a main villain that he's kind of a lackey for. The next mistake I'd say Black Widow makes is that it's not Tony Masters. I think it being Tony Masters is a very good thing, because then you can capture the heart of the character. And you can have things like the funny lines, and then do a lot of things that make it fun to watch. Because if it's not fun to watch Taskmaster on screen, then you don't want to watch him on screen. Because towards the beginning, it's very fun and very interesting. However, towards the end and stuff, it's not fun to watch Taskmaster. It's kind of just very bland, very boring, and it kind of loses the essence that you need. And I think once you remove that part that is so necessary, I think you lose something in the character. And I think that's definitely there. And I don't know why, that's really like a thing, but it just is, and it's really buggy and annoying. So I think Taskmaster needs to have a voice, in my opinion. He needs to be a character, not just like a thing, because he isn't a thing. Taskmaster is a person. At the end of the day, Taskmaster is like a person. And even though it's like weird to say, oh yeah, Taskmaster, like, because Taskmaster was portrayed as this emotionless, robot-ish thing. And I think that's weird. I really do. And I think it works for Ant-Man. However, I wouldn't say it works for not Ant-Man, for Black Widow. However, I wouldn't say it would work all the time. And that's a big issue I have with this film. Now talking about Ant-Man, Ant-Man the Beginning is another place where it's shown. And it's an interesting story, to say the least. Taskmaster, it's a good story. It's not the best fan film. There's definitely plenty of issues. However, Taskmaster's in it, and it butchers the character again. It kind of doesn't have voice lines, and it kind of shows him kind of as not being a gun for hire, kind of just doing whatever it wants. And unlike the first one in Black Widow, where they kind of have a motive, it doesn't. If we talk about things like Contest of Champions, they are portrayed as having like guns and stuff, and having a shield, and all these things that make it good. Like, I'm not saying he needs to have everything. I'm saying a shield could be cool. I think a sword could be cool. And a bow could be cool. I don't think they need everything. However, I would say that they can use them all uniquely. And I think if you don't figure it out uniquely, then you're kind of screwing something up. Because if you think about it, the character is all about manipulating things and taking powers. However, if you're not doing any of those cool things, then I don't get the point of making that character the villain. Because there's very few stories that the character of Taskmaster can work in. And if you're choosing the specific stories that he can work in, you have to make him like a gun for hire that's doing this. Or you can make them have their own motives. And in the Avengers game, which I haven't played, but from what I understand, Taskmaster is a good villain in it. So what I kind of am trying to say is that it's an interesting way to portray these characters, because I think these are good. This Taskmaster is one of the best characters in Marvel, in my opinion. It's a very good character, and I feel like it's done wrong currently. So, and why can't Taskmaster be done? And this is kind of the whole thing I want to talk about. In my opinion, the thing is that Taskmaster was done very weird in Black Widow. And I think you get that out of your head. I think Taskmaster deserves voice lines. I think he deserves to be able to talk. Next, I think Taskmaster, he isn't the type of person to, the more powers he has, the less memories he has. So he shouldn't be remembering all these things. Yes, maybe he should remember some things. I don't think he should be remembering things from so long ago, because he doesn't have a great memory. So it shouldn't be treated like he does. And another thing is that Taskmaster is such a great character. He really is. However, for some reason, it is not done well. And why is that not done well? And another reason I think, besides that, is because I think it doesn't capture the heart of the character. I think sometimes it captures like a gun for hire, someone like this, something like that. And I think it can be a gun for hire, but it can also be this, that, like doing this for his motive. And for like a personal incentive. And I think if you don't do one of those, you're already doing something wrong. And I think you also can't have him keep switching things up. I think you kind of keep him on one track. And that's the one track you use. And if you're not using that one track, you're doing something wrong. So that's the thing I think that kind of has to be nailed. I think Taskmaster needs to have one motive. And maybe the motive is switched, and it makes sense. However, you can't just have him switch motives halfway through for no reason. I think he is the type of character kind of say, this is what I want, and I'm going to get it. And I don't think you can't. Taskmaster is going to be like, oh, whatever, I'm not going to switch. I'm just going to switch motives. So, what characters would I say work? I think spy thrillers. I think that is where Taskmaster would shine. The thing is he can really work with most things. Like in Iron Man, no. I think anything with powers could definitely work. First thing, though, like, Ant-Man is not a character that, in my opinion, could work with Taskmaster, because Ant-Man doesn't have powers. So, it's kind of just like Taskmaster fighting Ant-Man. That's why I don't think it works. I think the I'd say there's 4 characters that, on top of my mind, that can work. Black Widow, Captain America, Black Panther, and Hawkeye. There are definitely more that I could think of. But those are people who have abilities that fighting styles. I'd say even get rid of Black Widow, Panther. I'd say those 3. Barden, Romanoff, and Rogers are the 3 that are the best. And why is because they don't have such great powers. However, they have powers enough that increase fighting style. And that's what makes Taskmaster so special, is the way he fights. And I think sometimes you can adapt him as just using a sword, which is the way I'm adapting him, which I'm going to get to. I'm going to get to my part in a second. Using a shield, that's another way you could definitely do it. However, what I would say is the main thing you have to do is kind of, if you either have to make him you either have to really lean into the fact that he can mimic anything and really lean into all the fighting styles. You can either go that route, or you can go with the very straight motive route. Like, get this, and you don't have to always mix up the fighting styles. So, now we're going to transition to Taskmaster Trials, which is my film. And what I'm going to be saying is basically how I'm going to try to address this issue. And how I'm addressing it is I'm kind of saying, this is the character, and this is how I'm doing it. So it's kind of like a ghost story, a lot like Winter Soldier. However, his goal is very simple, to kill Steve Rogers. And the whole film is him, well, not to kill Steve Rogers, it's to take down S.H.I.E.L.D., and what he believes is the best way to do it is to kill Steve Rogers. Because he thinks if Steve Rogers is alive, it will make it way more difficult to take down S.H.I.E.L.D. So his goal is basically to kill Steve and then take down S.H.I.E.L.D. instead of letting Steve live and then risk getting captured. So that's basically the plot of the film. He's trying to take down S.H.I.E.L.D. and in the process take down Captain America. So it's basically a manhunt. And it's a very interesting thing because Taskmaster is threatening in this. He kills, it's not shown that he kills. Well, maybe it is. I can't reveal that. But there are times where Taskmaster does these things that are threatening and that do leave characters to become paranoid. And some characters do go into hiding because of Taskmaster. So what happens because of it is basically him being this opposing threat. And only though he has a sword, he is able to do things like catch Captain America's shield and stuff. And it's a lot of things that are shown in fighting styles. And it's the type of thing that I really want to pinpoint moving forward with the character. Because I think Taskmaster is a character that deserves to be done right once. And I don't think he has been. So I would love to really be the one to bring it perfectly. And I'm not saying I'm going to. It's a fan film. Of course it's not going to be done perfectly. Unless it's like a Lotus budget. There's no way it could be done perfectly. However, I kind of want to get the heart of the character there. And the message I'm trying to say is, if you want to lean into all these fighting styles, that's a perfect way to lean into it. Or you kind of say, he's like a gun for hire. This is his motive. And you can lean into more of the voice lines, things like that. And kind of make him an actual character instead of like the mimicking. And you can do both. You can try. I think it could definitely be difficult to do both. However, I think it could be very interesting to tell the story in a good way. And that's kind of what I want to see moving forward with this. I think Taskmaster is a very good character, and I think it deserves to be shown that way. I don't have too much else to say. I think this is kind of more of a rant video, and I feel like I kind of just had to talk about why Taskmaster deserves to be done well, and kind of explain. And the final thing really is what's the issue? And I kind of addressed this already, but really, people just don't know how to kind of figure out the heart of the character. And maybe it can be that he's like misdirecting, confusing, difficult to like like unpredictable. And you can definitely go that route. However, I think there are plenty of things that you can do. There are many routes you can go with the character. And that's what's so nice about it. I think there's so many ways you can do it. You can go the way I'm going with it, like the menace, the assassin type thing, or you can go with a more unpredictable type thing. And I think you can really go either way. However, the main thing I think you have to pinpoint is make him menacing. And if Taskmaster isn't a menacing villain, you've lost. And at the beginning of Black Widow, Taskmaster's menacing, perfect. Then when Taskmaster isn't menacing, the film fails. I think the train fight, he's also menacing. Past that point, I do not think so. I think Taskmaster then becomes not a threatening villain. And that's the whole thing that needs to be addressed. I think the biggest issue is that Taskmaster is not threatening in media. And a good Taskmaster interpretation is one where he is threatening. Yeah, that's my rant. Besides that, thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't already seen the official trailer from my own fan film, Captain America the Taskmaster Trials, it's on my channel now. Besides that, thank you so much for watching this video. See you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.